Morning to you both. Anna, let's have a look at the Telegraph and the Times as well. Looking at reform. What's going on with reform at the moment?
Well, it's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? You know, they're in complete and utter chaos. They've lost...
Any more than any other party?
Oh, no, come on. I mean, you know, whatever... Rupert Lowe, new MP, no one could say he hasn't been a very active MP, asking endless parliamentary questions, good questions, frankly, of Yvette Cooper and the failing Labour government, particularly on immigration, and now he's been ousted. I think one of the most outrageous allegations is something about him having dementia. I mean, of all of the reform MPs, he's the least likely to have any sort of problem.
Wouldn't you be kicking off if it is allegations have been made against him, and if it is found eventually that he had done something wrong and nothing had happened to him, from the party perspective, you'd be kicking off saying what a disgrace. I
think he's got a absolute complete right to kick off and to say that this is outrageous. I mean, the most worrying thing is here is a party who is putting itself forward to run the country. It can't even run a party of 5 people, and it seems to come down to the ego of Nigel Farage.
I mean, that's absolutely right, isn't it? Nigel Farage wants to run the country. Well, he couldn't run a bath based on this, could he? I mean, they do look like a clown show at the moment. But in the end, at the next general election, reform will be held to account for the policies they put forward, for the fact that Nigel Farage has talked about, charges in the NHS. That'd be 15 grand for a hip replacement. Who wants to pay that? And that, I think, he would wave the white flag to Putin. They are so pro-Russia in the Reform Party, and that's not in our national security interest. But this is a complete mess.
It's not. Well, the truth is, there's focus on it because there are only 5 MPs, or 4 now, and because they're riding so well, not only in the polls, but in the general public and their membership numbers and all the rest of it. Now, someone having a falling out in a political party, heck, it happens with your lot all the time, Anna. It happens with your lot, Jonathan, all the time.
But this is 20% of their parliamentary party.
And this is going to cut their parliamentary activity by 50%. That's how active an MP, Rupert Lowe, has actually been. And let's not forget, Nigel has form on this. He's on his 3rd political party now. He's fallen out with every other person in his party.
Well, he was saying last night he doesn't fall out with anybody. People fall out with him.
Well, the question you've got to ask yourself, Ellie, is Nigel's ego big enough or too big to allow him to get through any door, including number 10?
Well, I tell you what, this has all come about because Rupert Lowe slagged off Nigel Farage in an interview in the Daily Mail, and Nigel Farage has thrown his toys out of the pram. If he is so sensitive to such minor criticism, how's he going to cope if he ever got to elected office? He's clearly very insecure. And you've got to have a thick skin to be able to deal with the big issues in the world.
Yeah, but the argument he would make back to that is this is nothing to do with that article. This is to do with allegations of violence.
Yeah, pull the other one. This is about that article. If Rupert Lowe hadn't slagged him off in that article, this wouldn't be happening. That shows you how insecure and prickly Nigel Farage is, how easy it is to get under his skin and wind him up. When you're negotiating and dealing with leaders across the world and dealing with people like Putin, do we really want somebody who is so weak? Nah.
Oh, well, let us know what you think about that one. Jonathan, in the Telegraph, Wes Streeting is going to cut NHS office jobs by 50%.
Yeah.
Of course, you're former Shadow Health.
Yeah, I did it for a long time, that job.
Yeah, you did indeed.
So this is about an organisation called NHS England. It's actually possibly the biggest quango in the country. It was one of the... Do you remember there was a guy called Andrew Lansley who did these big disruptive reforms to the NHS? He introduced it. There's a feeling that it's lost its way, and what Wes Streeting is trying to do, because he wants to bring down these huge waiting lists in NHS, he wants to deliver the care that patients deserve. He wants to make sure that people can see their GP in the morning, and he thinks there's too much management at the top, and we can actually cut it out, and it can be much more directed by him as the Health Secretary. So big changes to cut out some of the bureaucracy in the NHS there.
Anna, this is common sense, isn't it?
Well, if Wes Streeting delivers that, good luck to him, because absolutely the NHS is way overstaffed. The number of managers in the NHS, tens of thousands of managers, when what we actually need are more doctors and more nurses. So I totally agree, and I hope he succeeds on this.
Well, let's hope so. Anna, let's stay with you, shall we? Look at the front page of the Daily Telegraph today, and this is farmers being hit again. This time, a land grab, as it's being described.
Well, I mean, honestly, this is completely outrageous, isn't it? I mean, this is Red Rainer's plan to bulldoze over the country and, fill it with more solar farms and wind farms to meet Mad Ed's clean energy targets. But the suggestion that the state can wade in and force people to sell their land, possibly for less than its current value, is absolutely outrageous. We should recognise that if people own land, they have their own property rights. We're not communist Russia, are we? And yet Red Rainer thinks we are.
Compulsory purchase orders are not a new thing. They've been going on for dead generations, including under your government.
That's true, but what's very different about this is if there's a piece of national infrastructure, a hospital, something that's vitally needed, yes, the state does need to have that power.
And that's what Labour's saying, it's homes and hospitals they've listed.
Yeah, but what's so different here is if you're going to force people to sell their own land, their own property, they have to be properly compensated. They have to be given the value as if it had been developed. What Red Rainer's trying to do here is snatch people's property at just its current value. It's outrageous.
Yes, its current value in order to build homes because young people can't get on the housing ladder. That is the problem. The Tories promised to do things like this. The Tories complained about so-called land banking, but every time that Tories, all of them, Cameron, Johnson, Sunak, the whole parade of them, said they were going to build houses, the Tory MPs blocked it. This Labour government is getting on and building houses so young people across this country can get on the housing ladder. Labour believes in a property-owning democracy. The dream of home ownership should not be blocked for our young people.
But you can understand why farmers feel aggrieved, because a lot of it is going to be farmland. They already feel under attack.
Well, they're banking this land so they can sell it at a higher price in the future. Yeah, a higher price in the future. This is about giving them their current land. We've got to build homes for our people. That's what we need. Our young people need to get on the... We're going to do that as well. I mean, it was mad that you have bits of brownfield not developed. So we're going to do that as well.
Red Rainer's rationale for this is for major infrastructure projects. This is going to be bulldozing over our
Margaret
countryside.
Thatcher would agree with this. Margaret Thatcher was in favour of giving people homes. You call that communism. I call that creating a wealth-owning, asset-owning, property-owning democracy.
Margaret Thatcher was in favour of people who were already in homes that had already been built, namely council homes, having the right to buy those homes. She was not in favour of bulldozing over the countryside for Mad Ed's clean energy projects.